One of the main things that I'm going to be trying to do with this new cycle is holding myself to a much higher standard during each training session. So for example, with squats, looking back on the last training cycle, I feel that the squat depth was inconsistent. I don't feel I ever necessarily squat high for to say, but I really feel that my depth isn't the depth that my federation tends to look for. So for example, I compete in the GBPF, which is an affiliation of the IPF, and the standard of squat depth in those federations is that you have to be going below parallel, and if you're not going below parallel, you are highly running the risk of not getting the squat passed. Now, I am not saying whether I necessarily agree with that, or that necessarily is a good or necessarily a bad thing, but what you need to understand is that that is the federation that I have chose to compete in, therefore I have to abide to what those needs are. And that is one of the reasons as to why I don't understand people that compete in the IPF but then complain about they're too harsh on judging squats, etc. And the thing is that if you don't like it, then just go to another federation. I personally don't necessarily agree with the fact that if a squat is parallel, it should be passed. However, those are the wants and needs of the judges, and those are the wants and the needs that I'm going to please. So in training, I feel that I'm going to have to make it a lot more sport specific and a lot more federation specific, and hold myself to that higher standard and make sure that I'm sinking every squat way below parallel. And that is what I was doing in this cycle. Again, not all sets and reps are shown. What you're seeing here is 3 sets of 4 with 208 kilograms, which is 80%. I was to then move on to 2 sets of 4 at 75% as a load drop. But I didn't film. I did film them, but I'm not including them again because I don't want the video to be too monotonous and boring for all of you. But again, as you can see, it's one thing I'm really trying to do is just really get below parallel, and that is what all of my squats are going to look like in the future, and that is the standard I'm going to hold myself to. And again, because of this, I do feel that my knees, again, especially when kind of getting into the latter stages and fatigue, that my knee tracking tends to be a lot more inwards than I want, and I do feel that is also tends to do that when I kind of sink the reps as low as I do. So that is again another thing we'll be working on, is really holding myself to a higher standard with keeping my knee tracking outwards. And again, on the bench press, really going to hold myself to a higher standard on the pauses. Again, at my last competition, the pauses were legitimate 2 counts, and that is the standard that the IPF and the GBPF are going to be setting, so that is the standard that I'm going to be holding. Again, I still feel that the pauses I was doing here were a little bit quick. They were probably only a 1 count here, so really going to focus on just getting them up to a 2 count and just holding everything to a higher standard, so that I am training the same way I am going to be competing. Because if I do so, then that is going to allow me to have the best possible chance to perform as optimally as possible within training. Because if all your squats throughout the whole cycle, so all of your squats are a little bit high or are suspect, how can you then think and about going to a competition and expect to then just sink your squat 2-3 inches deeper than you have your whole training cycle and still hit all-time PRs and make the squats look beautiful? Well, you can't, because it's simply not expectable, because you are going to be performing a different way to the way you have trained. So again, that is something I'm going to be doing, holding myself to a much higher standard for all my squats and all my bench presses, and that is the plan. And again, here finishing off with some accessory work. Wide grip pull-ups are kind of out of the question after doing all of those squatting and all of that benching, as my elbows do tend to be pretty damn sore by this point and pretty kind of hating on me, to be honest, but close grip pull-ups definitely do help. And then from there was just to move on to some dips and some core, and again eating in a nice surplus, nothing too big at all, trying to minimise fat gain as much as possible, and just make slow steady progress and add as much lean tissue over the next 6 months as possible, and just allow my body weight to kind of go where it feels it wants to go, without kind of gaining much body fat, if any. And with that, just really trying to add some lean tissue. So again, just really doing some getting in some volume work on upper body, getting some volume work in my arms, increasing the weak areas, and overall that is all going to hopefully have a really positive effect on my potential for strength, because again, a bigger muscle always has the potential to be a stronger muscle. A bigger muscle always isn't necessarily a stronger muscle, but a bigger muscle always has the potential to necessarily be a stronger muscle. So after Sunday's video, where I said that I was struggling to find places to put the camera as I didn't have a stand for this, a really good friend of mine and also client, Billy Bentley, actually sent me through a Gorilla Pod, which was really awesome from him. So that is going to make life a lot easier. It means that now I'm going to be able to find tons of really cool places to put the phone camera. The only thing is that I don't have the attachment for this for my phone, so I've just went and bought that off of eBay, and that should be here before Thursday. So that will make filming a lot easier. It means that as well, especially on PR sets, that if Robbie's shouting or getting into it, he won't shake the camera and make it look like an earthquake. But overall, that is awesome. Going to make life a lot easier, make me be able to get a lot more cool shots, and overall just super pumped for that. So thanks so much, Billy. That was really awesome. That is the device I got to attach my phone to the Gorilla Pod. It was 10 quid, $9.95, so that's about $18. So overall, very good. And that should be here in a few days. So looking forward to getting that. I'm looking forward to getting some really new cool camera angles, and it means that the camera will not be shaky anymore.